It was all a game, a fantasy. They were goblins, an army of them. He must kill them and drown them. The green, ugly little creatures were hurting his friends and family. They must be destroyed. After drowning the goblin commander, he was able to help his fellow ally. That is when he woke up, confused, not knowing that his life would never be the same again. Welcome to 10-Minute Murder, brief and bingeable true crime. I'm Joe, the host, and thank you for making what I think is a very wise decision today, to listen to this podcast. The episode you're going to hear today was suggested by Mark from Stone Valley Woodworks. He's an OG listener, and if you go by the 10-Minute Murder Facebook or Instagram pages, you'll see the sign of the 10-Minute Murder logo that he created. It's pretty fantastic. And I think that if you need someone to blame for how weird the story is today, look no further than Mark. If you want to contact me for any reason whatsoever, including suggesting an episode, you can email joe@10minutemurder.com. All right, now today's story. Cody Metzger-Masden lived with his foster parents, Don and Julie Kuhlman. The couple also have their 2 biological daughters. In the home as well, Dominic Elkins. He was put into foster care in the Kuhlman home by his mother when he was 5 years old. She explained the reason that she put him into foster care was due to his behavior problems and her not knowing how to handle him. He would throw uncontrollable tantrums and physically abuse others. That aggressive behavior was said to have gotten under control after he received months of therapy at a local treatment center right before he was put into the Kuhlman's care. On the evening of August 31st, 2013, in Logan, Iowa, Dominic and Cody, who was, by the way, 17 at this time, were playing in the backyard of their rural foster home when Cody beat the 5-year-old repeatedly. He then drowned him in a pool of water at the bottom of a ravine and dumped Dominic's body. The 2 boys had been living in the foster home for only a few weeks together, and Cody claimed to have never meant to kill Dominic, and that he was in his own world. In his trial, he explained what he saw and how he would never have hurt the 5-year-old boy. "I don't kill," he said. "Stop blaming me for murdering. I'm not a killer." The police asked him if he saw others there. He said yes, and that he often sees ominous figures that no one else can see. That day, there was a cloaked figure glaring at him from the ravine. During his testimony on the first day of the murder trial, Cody told the judge that in his mind, he was playing a game based on Roman mythology with Dominic and was transported to his own world. This is a world that has many different colors, different smells compared to the real world, he testified. While playing the game, Cody went to his own world and said that he had seen an army of goblins, claiming that they were green, ugly little creatures, that they were fighting people that he knew. The scene of the game was similar to one you may be familiar with if you have children. He said it was something like from Skylanders, a game that Cody himself played. That day, during the events that resulted in the death of Dominic, Cody said that he had fought the Goblins' commander and pushed him into a ravine. Quote, "I remember attacking him with it and smashing it into his face," he said. It being a stick that he was using as a sword. His attorney then asked him, "At that very moment, did you realize it was Dominic?" "No, I did not. I started pushing his head into the water as I was hitting him with a brick." Cody then said he wanted to keep the goblin away to make sure it wouldn't come back to life and come after him. He stated that the goblins are, quote, "kind of tricky little creatures." However, when talking about Dominic, the teen said, "I love the little guy. I would never hurt him, not even a hair on his frickin' little head." After having killed and disposed of the goblin commander, Cody said that he was called outside of the ravine by an ally who said he needed his help. Once he was transported out of his own world and the game ended, and after he helped the other ally, Cody then went to tell his teenage foster sister that he couldn't find Dominic anywhere. She was left in charge of her foster brothers while their parents were away. She was watching TV when Cody came into the house with blood on his forehead, stating that something had happened to Dominic. He told her that Dominic had become upset about the game and he had hit himself with a brick before running into the ravine. She immediately called her mother, who by that time had returned home and was at the edge of the property with her other daughter. Julie Kuhlman gave a statement to the police that Cody was hysterically crying and repeating that he hadn't done anything and that Dominic had hit himself because he thought Cody was not playing fair. When pressed by his foster mother, Cody led her to the ravine. The girls spotted Dominic lying in a creek, and they let out a scream. Upon closer examination, it was revealed that he had gashes on the back of his head and on his face. His lips had already turned blue. One of the girls told investigators that she attempted to perform CPR on him, but they had been too late. The girl's grandfather reached the same conclusion when he arrived after checking for Dominic's pulse. The Kuhlman's biological daughter, who was on babysitting duty that day, said in her statement to the police that she believed her foster brother was the culprit. Barbara, Dominic's biological mother, left the courtroom as Cody described the attack on her son. He said that he only realized that he had been involved in Dominic's death when he was in the car a short time later. He also grew frustrated at the cross-examination. The prosecutors noted that Cody provided more than one story for why and how Dominic had died, and was able to lead his foster family to his body. While on cross-examination, Cody claimed that he had told different people different versions of the story, depending on a symbol that only he could see on top of people's heads. "You don't really believe me, do you?" he asked at one point while being cross-examined. Cody's biological mother, Peggy, also took the stand. She explained to the court about how she would use $20 worth of crystal meth a day for 3 months while she had been pregnant with him, and that could be the reason for his behavior. She had custody of Cody up until he was 7 years old and claimed that while growing up, he always had imaginary friends and often compared himself to a Power Ranger. After hearing all of the testimony, the district court judge ruled Cody Metzger Masden not guilty by reason of insanity. After hearing this ruling, Dominic's biological mother cried and walked out of the courtroom. In her ruling, immediately after closing statements, the judge relied on opinions from a forensic psychologist who had testified for the defense. The psychologist testified that Cody's lack of emotion when he described the attack on Dominic was evidence that he was most likely in a psychotic state at the time. As Judge Kilnowski ruled, she stated, quote, "During his interview with agents and in his evaluations, and during his testimony at trial, Cody Metzger Masden appeared to be unaffected by the gravity of his acts against Dominic. He was animated in describing his battle against the Goblin. He became testy when confronted with the lies and inconsistencies. However, it is not clear he appreciates, even now, the consequences of his action." There are many who believe that Cody Metzger Masden was completely aware of what he was doing to his foster brother, and others believe his story. Some experts claim that due to his lack of emotion while giving the Goblin story, that it felt as if he was reading from a script. An expert, Alan Goldstein, stated, quote, "He spoke about taking the life of a 5-year-old boy as if it was just another walk in the park. It was like someone reading from a script. He was totally detached from what he had to say. Nobody except Cody himself may ever really know what exactly happened to his foster brother, Dominic."